Hello everyone, October 13th, 2022. Welcome to our live immigration session for Canada. Today we're covering the topic of express entry, news, predictions, what to expect, and what's happening. The express entry program is the fastest, most efficient, and cost-effective PR program in all of Canada, as you probably should know. But is it the right program for you? Are you stuck in the express entry pool for life, or is there hope that you will be invited for PR? Express entry draws are dropping continuously in the minimum threshold points since July of this year when they restarted. What can you expect in the coming months for express entry draws, potential changes to the program, and how it can affect your profile in the pool? That's what we'll be covering today in our YouTube live session. And remember, we will be answering all of your comments and questions from our YouTube audience after discussing the express entry program. Hello, my name is Reza, as you may already know, and I work with the Ingwe Canada immigration team, helping applicants move to Canada, whether it's for themselves, kids, business, or all of the above. We do make it happen. Let me make this clear, folks. I'm not an actual full-time YouTuber, but I work hands-on with our licensed team in Canada, working on actual applications and communicating on behalf of our clients with the Canadian Immigration Department, whether it's overseas or inside the country. These videos are made for the purpose of sharing our hands-on Canadian immigration knowledge with our worldwide audience. And if you're thinking of immigrating, at Ingwe, we break down the barriers between countries so you can study, work, and invest in Canada. We're licensed and we help applicants just like you and your families. Yes, the latest draw as of the recording of this live video is 500 points in express entry for all categories. If you remember, we started at 557 back in July 6th of this year, when all the categories such as federal skilled worker, Canadian experience class, federal skilled trades restarted since they stopped completely during the COVID-19 pandemic. Every single round of draws has dropped in the minimum CRS score since July, and you don't need to be a math genius or have a degree in mathematics or statistics to understand this. Yes, we and everyone else expect the next draw in express entry to drop below 500 points. Although only a very slight drop is expected. You might see 496 or even 498 in the next draw. If IRCC goes lower than this CR score, then they're being very brave. Before the knock code changes go live on November 16, 2022, you will most likely see up to 2 more draws in total in express entry, probably all below 500 points. This is just an educated guess, folks, and nobody has a crystal ball with Canadian immigration, except maybe the Canadian immigration minister, but even for him, I think the crystal ball is very foggy. We have now heard that changes to the selection system for express entry, whereby the minister will be able to select candidates in the express entry pool by knock code, which is expected to start later in January of 2023. This is based all on the new National Occupation Classification Code system, the knock code, going live later on in November of 2022. It is reasonable to assume that the express entry pool will have another silo for occupations in demand, such as healthcare workers, IT workers, truck drivers, caregivers, and so forth. This will leave fewer and fewer numbers for everyone else in terms of spots for invitations for PR. So if you have scores of 300 or low 400s or even mid 400s are in the federal skilled worker stream and are not in these high demand occupations, then you literally have very little chance of being selected in the next 1 to 2 years through express entry. This is not true for applicants with Canadian experience, provincial nominations, employer sponsorships, and high demand occupation knock codes. That means that anyone who is not an in-demand occupation will have a very difficult time receiving an invitation to apply in the express entry system unless they have multiple education, both English and French, very low age, or in Canada maybe, under 30 with Canadian education and Canadian work experience. If you're over 40 and just have a bachelor's degree and are losing hope on this whole express entry system, check out our YouTube video on how to claim bonus points in case you're an entrepreneur. And as you may have heard in the news already, the Canadian Immigration Minister has announced that they also plan to allow self-employed medical doctors to become eligible for express entry later on. As you already should know at least, self-employed experience inside Canada does not count in the express entry system. If you do have questions about self-employed experience, let us know later on and we'll show you which programs are eligible for that. Most of you may not know this, but in Canada, medical doctors are typically contractors for medical clinics and the government. So they're just independent contractors. They're not usually on payroll, as they would make more money being an independent contractor than receiving salary. This was always their dilemma when immigrating to Canada, as they needed to give up this lucrative income and opt for payroll salary to become eligible for provincial nominee programs or express entry to obtain their Canadian permanent residencies. With the recent announcement by RCC to rectify this issue and make life easier for medical doctors on work permits in Canada to obtain their PR while being independent contractors and being quote-unquote self-employed, working for the government, clinics, and so forth. And in case you did not know this, Canada brings in family doctors from UK, Ireland, US, and even sometimes Australia. So what about this knock code system, which will affect everyone in the express entry pool who has not yet received an invitation to apply for their PR before November 16th of 2022. We're going to have a dedicated video released during that week of November in order for us to see it and believe it when they roll it out by Service Canada and IRCC. The new knock code system is the 2021 version of the National Occupation Classification Code system. All programs of IRCC and the PNPs even will be updated by the second half of November with the knock code. Hopefully, let's keep our fingers crossed here, folks. As you may or may not know, or have maybe read about it, the new system is based on the TIER system, which is an abbreviation for Training, Education, Experience, and Responsibility, TEER, which will be linked to each occupation. So instead of the old knock code system of the 0, A, B, C, and D skill levels, it will be based on tier levels 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The biggest expected changes is certain that knock C-level occupations being shifted, some of them, to higher tier levels and making them eligible for express entry, and some occupations being removed or downgraded in tier level. This will affect all Canadian immigration programs, whether you're a business entrepreneur under the federal program, like the C-level 10, 11, or 12, express entry, provincial nominees, caregivers, rural programs, agri-food pilot program, Atlantic immigration program, and even LMIA-based temporary foreign work programs. Based on this new knock code, the minister will select specific occupations in the express entry pool starting next year, similar to how the provinces select specific occupations in demand from their own pools or express entry. Similar to Saskatchewan, as you know, Ontario, and sometimes even New Brunswick and Nova Scotia. This can be both good and bad news for you as the applicant, depending on which side of the fence you're with, your occupation and your CRS score sitting in the express entry pool. And there you have it, folks. Simple but effective. Our 2022-2023 express entry predictions, news, and of course we will be monitoring the processing of these draws in more detail over the coming weeks and months, and keeping you updated with a dedicated knock code video being released later in November to make sure that when they roll it out, that's when we'll actually tell you all about it. Up to now, it's all theory and we have to see it before we believe it, when dealing with the government. Of course, that's the golden rule. And if you're thinking about immigrating to Canada through investment, business, work, sponsorship, skilled immigration, or studies, you are at the right place. And I can guarantee you only one point. When you work with us, you'll know what to expect. The entire process clearly laid out for you, all the risks identified, and where we can provide you 100% as our client. We have a $1 million liability insurance, which protects you and us from fraud or mistakes, and a dedicated client trust account with Canadian banks. Our team speaks over 8 languages and help applicants from over 47 different countries for the immigration process. Click the link below this video and get a free email assessment. And if you already know what you want, your timeline is clear, and you're 100% serious, you can also book a one-on-one consultation with me using the consultation link in the description of this video. And if you have questions, remember we're here weekly live on our YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram every Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern North America Standard Time, where we answer all of your Canadian immigration questions for free on the spot. And that's what we're going to do today, folks. Okay? So we've got Amila Silva saying, hello, my PRTD application in process, almost 6 weeks in Riyadh. Is there any standard processing time for PRTD? My wife delivery date is next Wednesday. Thank you. So basically with the PR, it depends under what program you're applying, Amila. If you can give me a little bit more details, maybe I don't know the abbreviation, but if you give me a little bit more details, but usually it takes a couple months. So yeah. So if you give me a little bit more details, I'll tell you. But I'm pretty sure you're gonna have your wife deliver first before you get your PR. Nasreen says, hi Reza, June, good luck. Hello Rosita, how are you? Abdullah says, hello Reza, can the proof of funds be in the main applicant's and spouse's accounts? Can it be in more than one account or a person and maybe in 2 different countries? Yes, Abdullah, as long as they're in your names, and if you're immigrating together with your spouse, they have to be in your names. So, and it can be in any country, it can be in any currency. The key is they're going to convert it to Canadian currency no matter where in the world, and compare it to the minimum settlement funds. So if you have it in multiple currencies, that's perfectly fine. If you have it in different countries and you have proof that it's under your names, that's perfectly fine. Zillary Agono, hello, it's 4 months since I did my biometric at the Canadian Embassy, and I'm yet to receive an update from IRCC. Is there any information on why it's taking so long? It depends on what application, Zillary. Did you do an express entry, or was it a study permit or visitor visa? We can give you more insight into that. But 4 months sounds short in terms of IRCC overseas processing, no matter if you're doing a visitor visa or even a PR application. And Abdullah says, so if you're going ahead with business entrepreneur option, again, it would matter with the NOC code for express entry once the new rules are implemented in November. Am I correct? Well, Abdullah, yes. So it's just a translation, let's say, from the old system to the new system, right? So, in the old NOC codes, we would do either a 0-1 or a 0-0. Well, in the new system, it'll be a 0, and then the NOC code would be 0-0. So it's not a huge difference. We're just translating from the old NOC to the new NOC. Nothing will actually stop. Everything is ongoing as of November onwards. Plus, when you do a federal entrepreneur work permit, first you get the work permit, which takes 6 months, and then you got to come here, potentially, if you don't have an operational business yet, run it, and then claim those bonus points and expense after a year. So we're talking a year and a half from now, unless you buy an operational business and we do an LMI owner-operator. I don't want to get too technical here, folks, to confuse you. Kathrivan Nagarathinam. Hello, Reza. Could you please shed some light on the medical examination exemption for inland applicants? So you need an upfront, Kathrivan, right? Kathiravan. You all applicants inside Canada would need an upfront medical for their active express entry profile. Okay, so that's a requirement that all of our clients, we've informed them that are inside Canada or that have active express entry profiles, that they need to do an upfront medical to include in their express entry. Before it was you get an invitation to apply, then you do the medical. Now for applicants inside Canada, this is mandatory. So we don't see an exemption at this point. And remember, now medical. So you said below is the details from RCC. An RCC medical officer found your medical has low or no risk to public health or public safety. Yeah, so that basically means that you passed the medical. Like there's no risk of being medically inadmissible. That's all it says, that you are not medically inadmissible. So that's good news, Katharivan. The Divyanish Agraval, hello sir, I'm in Canada on my work permit. Divyanish, I remember you. In Canada on work permit, my score is 482 under knock code A. Is it possible to get an ITA this year? Well, Divyanish, as I said, there's no crystal ball. We're just guessing here. You might as well. Your guess is as good as my guess, right? 482 is great. If you have Canadian experience points, yes. I'm not sure if it'll be this year or maybe next year. But if you're in federal skilled worker and you don't have Canadian experience class, right? If you don't have 1 year continuous Canadian, or doesn't have to be continuous. If you don't have 1,560 hours of Canadian work experience, then potentially you're in the federal skilled worker class, and maybe this year you won't be selected, right? You have CEC points. Okay, so you're guaranteed to be selected, Divyanish, okay? But when, we don't know. Could it be in 6 weeks or maybe next year, right? So that's something that you've got to watch out for. This year, it's unlikely. All I can say, if it happens, great. But I don't think it's going to happen this year for some reason. But it could. I could be completely wrong, and I hope I am. But it most likely will go into next year at some point, and hopefully they'll have some separate draws for Canadian experience category applicants as well. Okay, so if you've got 482 and you have Canadian experience, I think over the next 6 months you've got great chances of being selected for PR. Let's CLPIP again. Yeah, I mean, if you've got a CLB 9, that should be pretty good. Obviously, you can push for CLB 10, which in CLPIP or IELTS, or even if you've got French. But again, if you get to the 490-ish, you may have a chance this year. And as I said, I think we're closer to 496 and higher, right? Shu Zhao says, good morning. I already registered a company last year. Visitor extension now, can I do under C10 or C11? Okay, so you register a business, Shu, and your visitor extension now. But so you can't do a visitor visa if you're applying for C10 or C11, right? C10 and C11 are significant economic benefit for Canada. So it's not an actual visitor visa extension. So if you're already here with a work permit, you can potentially renew your work permit under C10 or C11. But if your question is, can I convert to C10 or C11, which for our audience is the federal entrepreneur work permits based on significant Canadian interests and benefits, then yes, it's possible to apply from inside Shu. Okay, Shu Zhao, you can actually convert and get a work permit from inside of Canada. Some of our clients have done that, or we've done it for them from inside Canada. So just so you know, that's possible. But in terms of visitor visa extension, well, if you apply for a work permit, you don't need a visitor visa extension if you're here on a visitor visa. So if you want, let us know. We can always help. But so far, that's what I can tell you, that if you're applying to convert to C10 or C11, you don't need to extend your visitor visa because your maintained status is based on that work permit application. Okay? Abdullah says, I meant that knock codes in EE are going to be limited, like SIMP, as you mentioned, now with the new rules. So won't it be limited? No, Abdullah. So what they'll do is the points will be high, right? So they're going to keep high points, and then they're going to pick specific occupations with lower points. So you're going to have both regular draws with high points that we are seeing right now, right? Like 500, 496 or 500, whatever. And then you're going to have these special draws based on occupations, right? So it's not going to be occupation specific draws all the time. It'll actually be both, right? So it gives an opportunity for people who have to have lower points but specific occupations and they have specific experience. And then there's other people who just have a lot of points, and those would be the general draws. So that would be fine, Abdullah. It's not going to limit that in a way, because express entry will still remain generally open for everyone, but whether you get selected or not, you either need very high points or you need to be in the right occupation with the right criteria. Yes. And Shu Zhao says yes, apply to convert. Thanks for that clarification. Yeah, no problem, Shu Zhao. That's exactly what I figured at the end as well, that you're converting, which is 100% possible, and you can flagpole as well and pick up your work permit, depending on which province or city you're in. Abdul says, okay, thanks for the clarification. No problem, Abdullah. And remember, folks, these are just estimates based on the news and information that the government has provided, that this is what we expect next year. If things change and there's a huge U-turn, sure, we're all passengers here. We're not the pilots of this massive ship called Express Entry and Canadian immigration. But at the end of the day, this is what they're planning to do, and this is what we expect, and this is our best educated assumption in terms of what applicants can expect. Okay, so if you're just joining us, we are in our YouTube live right now, and we are answering live Canadian immigration questions on our YouTube. Unfortunately, I don't see the Facebook, Instagram questions, but we do see the YouTube comments and questions, and we're here every week on Thursdays. So Abdullah says, can we change knock code in SIMP if earlier knock code selected is not relevant now? They may convert it. We have to see what SIMP will do. We may have to convert. They may convert it automatically because you're already in their system, right? Unless you believe that your knock code has completely changed, but it should not have. I'm in BC, White Rock. Thank you. Shu. Okay, nice, White Rock. I grew up in BC, Shu. So White Rock is nice, actually. Lots of development. But yeah, you're close to the border, so you can always, take a couple-hour drive and pick up your work permit when it's approved. So that should be fine. That should be fine, Shu. Yeah, folks. So we're here every Thursday answering your questions for Canadian immigration on our YouTube. I'm on the road now, as some of you may already know, different time zones, but again, our office is fully dedicated at answering everyone's questions. We're here still every Thursday. We do have our videos being released and our team helping applicants like yourself in our office non-stop. Okay, the profile is expired. Yeah, Abdullah, I would say that you could wait November 16th. If SIMP does the new update, hopefully, you can just use the new knock code to re-enter the pool. So that should be fine. It's not going to be huge. Abdullah. Okay, now I know who you are, Abdullah. I just realized it, right? We did a consultation, right? Right. Perfect. Now I get it. Thank you. Because everyone uses different names on this YouTube live, right? So sometimes I've got to sort of translate the online names to the real names. But yeah, sounds good. Good to see you online. Good to see everyone online. Shu, well, I mean, it's the first time I'm seeing you now. And then we've got Divyanish, what I've seen before. I think you were busy for a while. Haven't seen you around. Kathiravan, this is the first time that I'm interacting with you, and Zilari Agono as well. Nasrin Ibrahimi is always online, so good to see. And Amila Silva was the first time that I've seen. Amila, okay. So Amila is here. Okay, perfect. So my PRTD application is problem was 6 weeks in Riyadh. Is there any standard processing time? my wife delivery. So Amila, can you tell me what PR program you're talking about? Maybe I can try to answer you. And 6 weeks is not a long time. Um, Travel document. So, uh, so basically means you already had a PR, and for some reason you don't have your PR to come back to Canada. So you're getting a travel document. Travel documents take a long time, Amila. So I'm not sure exactly what's happened. Is it a new PR? Is this you had a PR but maybe it expired and you left the country, couldn't renew? Give me a little bit more insight. But 6 weeks, yeah, you're a PR. 6 weeks, 6 weeks is nothing for travel documents. Sometimes under very special circumstances they can process it quickly. Usually it takes months, Amila. But if they're nice to you and your wife is in Canada delivering, then maybe. But to be honest with you, in most situations, not all, it takes months and months to get the PR. But in your situation, I hope it doesn't. Okay, if they give you the I mean, you should follow up with the embassy to get the travel document, but usually travel documents are time consuming and painful in terms of getting it from the embassies. That's why I usually don't recommend it at all. Avoid at all costs. But now you're in that situation, you're at the mercy of the embassy. I do hope they have some humanity in terms of getting your travel document. Lutz Schaefer, my future fiance from the Philippines applied for visitor visa. After 6 months, he received refusal. What can he do in reapplying? How can I help? How can I help with sponsorship? Provide guarantee. Okay. So Lutz, future fiance in terms of IRCC doesn't really mean much, right? Either you're a common law, conjugal, or spouse. So if you're just a future fiance, like if you're trying to bring them in, all you can do is reapply for visitor visa, or you can go back, get married, and then, or go to a third country, get married, and then apply for spousal sponsorship. So you either reapply for your visitor visa, or you're at the mercy of the embassy, or you do a spousal after getting married. You don't have a lot of options, Lutz. Muzaffar Mullah, what's the timeline for PR after letter of support is issued? So Muzaffar, for startup visa, 2.5 years minimum. Around 2 to 2.5 years, they'll start looking at your file, and it'll take another 8 to 12 months to process your PR. So usually we see up to 3 years to actually get a PR, and 2.5 years for them to actually, 2 to 2.5 years to actually have them look at your file. And by the way, you're not going to get a permanent file number until 2 years. You're going to get a temporary file number for 2 years. Abdullah says, it was wonderful to you talk. I would recommend others to do the same. Thanks, Abdullah. Appreciate it. Amila, yes. Good luck with that, Amila. I know it's a tough situation to be in, and I've always recommended clients to avoid travel documents in as much as possible. I know sometimes it's impossible. 1.2 million. Hi, sir. How to justify low academic for student visa? I completed first semester with 3.054. Is that enough? So they're not going to put a lot of weight for your GPA or that grade or the marks you have from school. They're going to look at your financials, how old you are, your education gap, travel history, financial support and assets, employability in your home country. These are the things that are more important than the grades. If you have good grades, great. If you don't, that's not going to be their priority in terms of decision making on a study permit from overseas. Lutz Schaefer says, thank you, no problem, Lutz. We're here, folks, answering all of your questions live on our YouTube, and I don't see the Instagram, Facebook comments, so I do apologize for that. And yeah, there you have it, folks. I talk a lot, and that's what I do. We're here Thursdays, just kind of giving clarity and information and exchanging information with everyone and answering questions. And sometimes it's you folks that give us information, and then we also hear about your stories, whether they're success stories or horror stories, and we share that with our audience as well. We're here to support that every Thursday, If you have any other questions, either stick around till next Thursday and tune in, or contact us through our website. I hope you have a wonderful week ahead, and excited to see the new express entry changes coming up. But again, if you're below 470 or 80 points, if you're below 490 points without Canadian experience and you're not in the high demand occupations, you don't have a chance for the time being. Okay, that's the reality. Nobody will tell you that, maybe, but we have to tell you the truth, and that's why we're here on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week. Thanks for the support of our audience online as well. Take care now. Bye-bye.